Okay, so one of the projects that we do in the Gorge is the Gorge Microclimate project. And if you think back to some of the introductory lectures, one of the things that's fairly unusual about Crete, although typical of many island environments, is the degree of endemism in the species. So lots of the species on Crete are specific to the island of Crete or to very particular parts of the island of Crete. One of the reasons that we talked about possibly driving endemism is the fact that species pools become very isolated by living in particular environments that suit them. And we talked about the gorges as being islands of cooler and more humid conditions, potentially amongst the very harsh arid upland environments of the southern flanks of the White Mountains. So the Gorge Microclimate Project is an attempt to try and work out the degree to which that hypothesis holds. Do the gorges have a distinctive microclimate which might go some way to explaining the high degree of species endemism that we observe within these gorge systems? So the aim of the project is to take some measurements of climatic conditions within the gorge, some measurements of climatic conditions on the mountain slopes above the gorge, and to do a comparison to identify whether there is a gorge microclimate or whether there are in fact different gorge microclimates within different parts of the gorge. So perhaps the climate may be different near the gorge walls or in the middle of the gorge, in the islands of trees in some places in the gorge or outside of them. And so we'll address this in two different ways. One, by taking manual measurements of things like temperature, humidity, light and wind speed, but also by putting out some data loggers for 2 or 3 days in the different sites so that we can look over a 72-hour period how the climate changes between the gorge and the upper surface. And the various effects that we might expect to see, we might expect to see more humidity and cooler temperatures in the gorge because of shading. We might perhaps expect to see warmer temperatures in the gorges overnight because the gorge walls heat up and re-radiate heat back to the gorge during the day. So that's the basic outline of the project, and what you'd need to do if you chose this project is to focus in on the particular parameters that you would want to measure and the nature of the tests that you would want to do, what instrumentation you're going to use, where you would put it, and so on.